bagel world issue.
Sure. So the Bob's referring to the trial road diet that was executed by MassDOT last week. And this has been in the works now for, I think I started getting involved in the idea of a road diet about 5 years ago. And so a lot of data and a lot of research and a lot of work has been done in the background by MassDOT. And then last summer and last fall, staff started to meet with MassDOT to give feedback and provide input. And so we realized that this road diet was going ahead. I think the board has had some updates on it. The timing, obviously, with COVID-19 is not ideal because we're in this unique time and things are not operating as they otherwise would be. And so things like traffic and drive-through businesses are really different than what we imagined it to be when we talked about executing this road diet. One of the unintended consequences of what I'm calling the perfect storm here is a nagging problem at Bagel World that has been traffic backing up onto the state highway, Route 28. That nagging problem turned into a safety problem after MassDOT put in the new striping. And we immediately convened with MassDOT and made them aware that this was a safety concern, a serious safety concern, so much so that they got a conference call together today with about 15 people from MassDOT. And so MassDOT, to their credit, took it very seriously. And they came up with a plan that I'd be happy to review on how to mitigate what's going on. So the backup that's happening at Bagel World is a result of the lane configuration as well as the increase in use of drive-throughs. And this is, I think everyone is aware that drive-through businesses have grown exponentially as a result of COVID-19. So being able to manage this now requires some steps to be taken to now modify and mitigate. And so those steps are, MassDOT has agreed to pay for daily police details until the new alteration of the lane configuration can be executed. And so what that will be is some new markings that will be installed to clarify and to simplify what this traffic configuration is going to look like and how it should operate. So the MassDOT contractor is available to start. They've indicated very soon and probably no later than next week with modifying the lane configuration. And so one of the major modifications is going to be the existing 6-foot shoulder will be expanded to 7.5 feet. And that will give more queuing space for cars backing up onto 28. An island will be painted, not a raised island, on the opposite southbound lane, which is the left turn into Bagel World. There'll be additional signage and dashed markings to warn drivers about this upcoming queuing area. And the signage will delineate the left lane and left turn, so there'll be added signage. And then at the entrance to Bagel World, there'll be some additional signage warning motorists that there's no standing. Then MassDOT will review the driveway permit that they issued to Bagel World and look at the nature of this problem, which I referred to earlier as a nagging problem and a nuisance problem, and see if they can regulate that through the driveway opening permit that they issued many years ago for this business. And so those are the steps that will be taken, but I think the most significant an immediate step, starting immediately, will be the presence of a police detail to manage the traffic at the cost of MassDOT in the project.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you to Carwell for the photography work.
Yeah.
Great. Any questions? Vanessa?
Jean, I have a question. Thanks for the update. That's really helpful. I know a resident had reached out to Ann and myself about Bagel World, and they pointed out that there is a state law preventing stopping on state highway, which 28 is.
Yes.
So I wanted to flag that. I also want to be sensitive to the fact that this is a successful local business. So I want to be cognizant of safety issues that have been raised, and also, not punish a successful business. So I don't know what that might look like, but that's my comment. Less of a question.
Yeah. The staff, myself, planning staff, public safety, we've had extensive interactions with the business owner about the concerns about the traffic spillover and the queuing spillover. And this, as I say, I've been involved in this for about 5 years. And I have to take my hat off to the police department, who spent an extraordinary amount of time doing just what you described, Vanessa, which is trying to work together to solve this. And they're just, it's a tricky one. And I've poured through plans and approvals and looked back to see if there's anything that the town can do to regulate further the design of this. And unfortunately, I won't bore you with zoning mumbo jumbo, but it's not an easy thing. In the way we do projects today, it would be very easy to address this. But this goes back almost 30 years ago, and it was a very, very, we don't even have this anymore. It's called basically an exempt review of sorts, and it was a perfunctory kind of non-review. So you would never do that today, but 30 years ago things happened the way they happened, and whatever. But today it would be a very intensive review, like we do all the projects. And if there were an issue, and it's built into zoning under site plan review, if there is an issue, we're able to go back and address it. So we're going to do the best we can with this and work with MassDOT, who I think through the driveway permit may have the ability to maybe have a little more success than we did in getting their attention, because if they're not able to access their business through the driveway, then they're going to have a big problem with their business. And so we've taken a soft approach, and it is what it is.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, Karen's hand. Sorry.
Sorry, forgot where the buttons were.
Carly, you're next. I'm sorry. I just looked down first.
Okay. Thank you, Jean. I appreciate it. And absolutely nagging is the right word. And it must be constant for the law enforcement, because you're like, oh, I'm not getting bagels today because it's back down to the highway again.
Yeah.
And I think the road diet looks terrific. So I think we need to be clear as we get used to this, that this road diet didn't create this problem. This problem was already there. Just extra highlighting. Thank you.
Carla.
Jean, has there been any correspondence that you're aware of with MassDOT and the owners?
No, this meeting that we had today, basically I told MassDOT that this was a safety problem they were responsible for and they had a fix. And so the conversation today was really about how do we fix the safety problem? And then we talked generically about, a business shouldn't have a queuing line that backs up onto a public way.
Well, I agree. And Reading is fortunate enough to have Bagel World because they're in other communities as well. And I'm sure all of us here on the screen, anybody watching, I can't say anything bad about Bagel World other than it backing them up to Route 28. But I'm hoping that, and I suggested looking at the drive-through permit as well, offline. And, we don't want to get into a fight with Bagel World, who's one of the more successful businesses, pandemic and non-pandemic, in town. So I'm hoping that with the better signage on the road and Bagel World is starting to pay attention, that what may come before them, well, hopefully they'll do the right thing.
Yeah, I think, as you say, they have, I think, at least 3 other locations. Salem and Peabody I'm very familiar with. There might be one more I'm forgetting. But the Peabody location I'm very familiar with has a very well-designed drive-through. It's in the southbound lane on Route 1 in Peabody. So it's a totally different site, so it's not comparable. But we have specifically worked on design ideas with them about modifying the drive-through. Anything can be modified and improved. So police have spent a lot of time actually almost practically designing that.
And when you referred to a detail not supplied, paid for by MassDOT, it would be Reading Police or State Police?
Well, it's going to be per Chief Clark. He's thin on officers, so
Right.
it may be officers, as they do with a lot of the details, from other communities. Not state though, but local. They're the way they do their details, that they often can't get people who work them, so they'll reach out however they do that. But yeah, that's going to be billed right to the project, and the town will not have any expense on that.
Okay, and that's supposed to start when? Do you know? Sorry, did you say when that's going to start?
Immediately, so like tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's it.
Thanks, Mark. Jean, on the topic of details, I think there are other businesses that have detail language written into their permit, right? I want to say the car wash.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that was a different review process that the car wash went through. It was a more standard site plan review. And in that site plan review, one of the conditions was if there were a problem with traffic backing up, that a detail officer would be called and that the car wash would incur that expense. So that was written right into the decision.
So just for clarification purposes, the permits, are those renewed on a regular basis? Okay, once
No.
granted, they're grandfathered in?
It's a site plan review process that we do under zoning. And it's a one-time review of the actual plans and the actual way the site's going to work. There is no real provision beyond that. And it's actually an invention of local government. It's not statutory.
So if someone, if either the town or a group of residents wanted to have that revisited, what would that process look like?
There is no revisited. They've already been approved and they have their zoning, their approval, their occupancy permit. It was done almost 30 years ago.
Okay. Thank you, Jean.
Yep. We can talk zoning all night if you want.
Let's pass. Thanks, though. Great. Any board questions? No. Great. Thanks, Gene. Public comment. Do we have anything in the queue right now?
I don't see any emails. I think Gene might have chased them away.
Zoning.
Sorry, zoning.
Why don't we move forward into liaison assignments?
Thanks, Gene.
Discussion. Yeah. Thank